Orgasmic enlightenment, where the sexual and spiritual come together. I'm Kim Anami, and I'm a holistic sex and relationship coach and a vaginal weightlifter. In this show, we explore all things intimate. I believe that our sexual energy is life force, creative energy, and we can use it to shape our worlds, strengthen our relationships, and self-actualize. I blend the most avant-garde information from neuroscience, ancient sexual practices like Tantra and Taoism, to renegade wellness modalities to show you how to create gourmet sex in your lives. Come one, come all. Fuck, motherfucker. When I started this podcast, I said that whoever we had on here as guests, I would make them talk about sex. Well, with Wim Hof, there wasn't any making necessary. He has a very eager and enthusiastic energy when it comes to all things sexual, and I think he was very keen to have a space to speak on this topic totally uncensored, because no one else really welcomes it, except me. So here it is. For many of you, this may be a side of him you've never seen before, and if you aren't familiar with his work, prepare to be blown away. Wim Hof and I share many similar ideas, and a couple of the main ones, among many, as you'll see, are that first off, we can override the programming and even supposedly scientific ideas that we are sold about what our bodies and minds can do. And the second is that anyone can. Wim and I assert that with the right tools, anyone can get to these places of climbing Mount Everest in a pair of shorts or having 30 cervical orgasms in a row. I went to a workshop with Wim in Australia last year, and I've been practicing his teachings ever since. What I love about Wim is that instead of relying on outside sources like coffee or the latest biohacking machine, he gets all of his power from within. And I love this because it's exactly what I teach with sexual energy, that it's a massive power source that anyone can tap into and learn to use. We all have these superpowers. We harness them by unlearning our dependence on external sources and the false ideas we've been taught that limit us, and instead we find all of that strength and magic inside. Wim's work is profound for both sexes, but I like to think he has a little something extra to offer the modern man in our audience as a living example of using nature, rewilding, and his own mind to amplify his power in the world and truly embody and own his masculine energy. So here's the official introduction. The Iceman, Wim Hof, is a Dutch athlete and multiple Guinness World Record holder. I believe it's about 16 for things like running a marathon above the Arctic Circle in bare feet. He's known for his ability to withstand extreme cold, and his extraordinary achievements reflect this. Wim believes that everyone is capable of doing the same exceptional things his body allows him to do. That's why he developed the Wim Hof method, a combination of breathing exercises, cold therapy, and commitment to give you the tools to take control over your body. He is on a mission to share the potential health benefits of his method, working with scientists around the world to prove that his techniques work. Discover more at wimhofmethod.com. Welcome, Wim Hof.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's such a great pleasure to have the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, but the reality. So before we let's dive in, I want to hear all about how you came to be on the path that you are, where you just wanted to push yourself into the next level. So you're in this world where you're constantly challenging yourself to get beyond, break through. How did that evolve for you?
Yes, exactly what you say. Getting beyond, getting through. That means there is something to go through to. There is something to go beyond to transcend, to break through. But I did not know what it was. So I dove a lot into esoteric disciplines, into yoga, into Hinduism, Buddhism, philosophy, all kinds of things, all kinds of practices. But they did not really lead up to this going beyond, into this breaking through, until I met the cold water. The cold water is merciless but righteous. It makes you tap in directly in an instant into the deepest of systems. Only when you learn to through the breath control your system to be in that hostile environment of freezing water. That made me go and learn to be controlled in that hostile, stressful environment and learn how to deal with deep stress. And that connected me at will with my deeper, with the depth of my systems. And in the beginning, I just did it instinctively, intuitively. But, very soon I realized I was breathing different. Going into the water made me feel great already. But changing the breathing pattern to go consciously deeper, because that's actually what happens when you go into freezing water. You breathe deeper. You change, you learn to change your biochemistry, your alchemy. And that is it's about life itself. And life is the creation. Life is sex. Life is all what is life all about. And we have become too much on the surface, on profanity, profane breathing, very shallow breathing. The cold made me go deeply within, wake up to my biochemistry, and being able to influence it at will and change it and feel just great, because that is the natural primordial state of our mind and body. We should all feel great. And it's done through this deeper breathing and the cold exposure, because we are built to be able to expose ourselves to cold, to one of the biggest elements of nature, to be exercising the vascular system to the depth. What happens when you exercise the vascular system in opening and dilating in cold water is that you train millions of little muscles, and they help the blood flow go through the body, reaching the cells, reaching all the mechanisms. And because you do that consciously, you learn to connect at will with those systems. And that it's amazing what happens afterwards. You feel so tranquil and powerful because all those millions of muscles, they are helping the blood flow getting through, and the heart rate goes down 20, 30 beats a minute, 24 hours a day. That means stress goes out of your system and you feel invigorated and full of blood flow, oxygen, nutrients going to all cells. That is life. And that made me go back every day to instinctively, in the beginning, when I was 17, and it's 43 years ago when I began. And from there, in wintertime, every day I was back. And I began to experiment more through these breathing techniques. Just deep breathing, and in 25 breaths, I was fully on. I could stay for 5 to 7 minutes under the ice. That is power. And I was in control. Then I learned to separate the breathing at home. And I found out that I could enlighten all the chakras, all the things I've been reading about, but never knew how to connect with them. Suddenly, it was full blown there. And transformation, you get a direct link with your electrical system. In other words, the nervous system. And now I have been showing in science as the first one to be able to control and influence deeply, activate the autonomic nervous system, which was considered in science impossible. And this is what I teach to people. You have awaiting a much bigger control over your own life systems, creating much more power and endurance within your life than schooled. And there I am. There we are. And I see what you do. I just saw a video, Phil, of you, YouTube. And because I did not know who you were, I think you're doing great work. Because it's bloody taboo on the most beautiful thing in the universe called sex, creating the most beautiful thing in the universe, namely innocence. We sodomized that, and we killed it, and we suppressed it, and it comes out very strange.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like suppressing a flower to grow. It's suppressing a flower to grow. We are all flowers, and we should take away the stupid, how do you say, perverted, twisted ideas of what sex is and what the practice is all about, and just enjoy life to the most.
Absolutely. And, I really appreciate what you're doing when you talk about being able to override the ANS. One of the hallmarks of what you've been able to do is to master your body in ways that science would say are not possible, right? So, science says the autonomic nervous system is something that is basically set in stone. There are certain functions that we cannot influence that, are not humanly or scientifically possible. And yet you do this. And I did a podcast recently. I talked about the myths of menopause because there's so many myths around sexuality that Western science predominantly has tried to enforce. And one of those is that, say, women shrink at menopause. Their sex drive dries up, they become old and withered and asexual, or that for women in general, they have to have difficult periods and this is a really painful thing, or that childbirth has to be painful rather than the biggest orgasm of a woman's life. And so I've been able to override my autonomic nervous system and choose when to have a period, a menstruation cycle, and for how long to have it. And so I've chosen for years to have one every 6 months. And I can choose to shorten that or lengthen it at will. And these are through different breathing techniques I learned through Taoist, Qigong, and exercises that I've applied to my body and are part of what I teach. And so obviously there's that parallel in what you do. So what do you think is possible? So when somebody learns to do this, right? So when they learn how to have this transcendence of what we think, or more specifically, what we're told we can do, what does that do for a human being and their sense of empowerment in the world and their confidence?
Yeah, first of all, you get a control over the energy itself, over your libido, which is part of the subconscious, and it is automatically driven, and you have no influence into that. This has been said, and that is thus not true. True is that you have an absolute direct influence into your libido. You can learn to control it and to have so much more than we think it is possible. I get a lot of people coming to my workshops, and people who have like menopause suddenly have no menopause anymore. And why is that? Because they tap into the depth of themselves, and nobody likes to have a menopause. Nobody likes to have difficulties with this menopause. And at that moment, when they learn to control their breathing, and find out that they are on top at will, being able to control much more within the body. Anything they don't like to experience, they are able to override. And that means menopause and the difficult times they're in, the lack of energy, and the lust for sex. It has literally been looked at by biochemical professors that the genome expression for virility is being spiked through these breathing exercises. So Viagra, goodbye. Not only my theory goes to, like, we are mammals, and like any rabbit, one day before it dies, it is still able to flee, fight, find food, and have sex. And this is life. This is the life force, being able to procreate, not only to create in general, to feel alive. Because every moment you breathe, you are alive. You bring creation right over there. You take it in, you blow it up. There is creation going on. There is life going on. And that reaches out to all cells. And we are right now into the big study in San Francisco on the DNA. And it seems that we have, through this method, much more influence into the cell mechanisms responsible for controlling that what is caused by inflammation, oxidative stress, and then having no control over it. We are able to control it to cell level, to the level of the DNA itself. And the DNA and genetics, it's all about procreation. We are so much more able to dive into even our ancestral influences in our DNA and rectify it. It's called life. And through the breath, we are able to link up at will, controlled, to go into the deepest of ourselves. The nature isn't stupid, and not. And after millions of years, it gave us a perfect, profound techniques and abilities, tools to have control over the deepest of ourselves. Only our way of life in this society is full of stress, full of inflammation, full of non-control. We are controlled, and we better learn to have control. Through the church came this suppression of sex, that it is something ugly. Yeah, you have seen what the church has been doing in all this suppressed sexual behavior and ways of thinking. We got to change the paradigm. We got to bring back the innocence, which is sex. Sex is innocent. Sex is beautiful. Sex is life. And to feel that drive uninhibited, that is the key. And then you have such an amount of energy, not only for sex, for creating, making your subconscious conscious. And with that, the dream state of yourself, anything that is in the depth of yourself, you have the tools. And through the breathing techniques and your will, the commander, you are the commander or owner of your own mind. You are rightfully the owner of your own mind, your own life, your own energy. And we have been taught to be serving the system, but it is time that people like you and like me come up and say, hey guys, we stop the nonsense and bring sense back. And sense is alive, being here right now with all the purpose and knowing it. And have great sex, I say every day, with the universe.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I really love that one of the big threads through your work is this idea of control and being in the power seat and being responsible. And that's a big thread in my work as well, is that we are ultimately responsible. We can affect the change if we have power with responsibility. We have to take responsibility in order to have power, and we can have effect. And we've learned this even through the epigenetic proof, that's come through with the work of people like, Dr. Bruce Lipton, that our thoughts, our energies have the influence and can go and override whatever kind of genetic programming we've got. And I love that you have these tools in place to get there. So for people who might be less familiar exactly with your methodology, could you explain it a little bit more? So obviously the breath, you have breathing techniques that are part of your method, and you have cold therapy, which I think are the two primary tools. So can you just explain a little bit further for people who might not know so much about it, what that means for them?
Yes. So the first and foremost importance is to know that it is very simple and that it is simplified, that we got all the science to back it up. We changed the books fundamentally. And now it comes. What is the method? The method consists or is composed by 3 pillars. One is breathing exercises, which you can take up, say, today. and the best is being done on empty stomach. There is a free app on our website. You can take it on. If you want more, you get into the travels and books and this and that. But there is a free app. You get the basics. And with the basics, you fundamentally are able to get anything, what this breathing technique entails. So the free app, breathing techniques. Breathing techniques make you able to change profoundly your biochemistry. So if you want to become the alchemist, get into the breathing techniques. They are very simple. And then number 2, gradual cold exposure. We are living in a society which is stressing up a lot in the vascular system. The cardiovascular system is 2.5 times the world in capillaries, veins, and arteries within each and every one of us. We naturally should live like mammals without clothes outside in nature. That means we are then exposed to the natural elements, which is heat, cold, and pressure. It is not so anymore. We live in a comfort zone behavior, which makes our bodies neutral. There is no difference. There is no activation, contraction, opening up. It's all not there. With that, we have created killer number 1 in society. Wait a minute, I got somebody calling me. I go away. Which is cardiovascular-related diseases. Cardiovascular-related diseases is killed more than any war. Millions every year, everywhere. But nobody seems to have an answer to that. And I say a cold shower a day keeps the doctor away. You know?
Well, I say an orgasm a day keeps the doctor away, but I'll meet you and say we could do both.
Oh, yes. Try to get a boner while you are in ice water or eject.
Okay, not at the same time, but I think one will help the other.
Yes, I do think so. And I know so. I know so because I tried. I like to experiment and to see what I can do. If your mind is strong enough and you are able to visualize, right, man, I'm able to get a boner and to have an ejaculation in ice water. That is something.
Amazing.
That is big. But let's go back. What is important? Ejaculation, the vaginal condition, the penis, the condition of the penis. It's all the blood flow. Blood flow full of oxygen, alkalinity. Getting there, then you really get a boner. Then you really get a beautiful, juicy pussy. And it's all that. It's amazing. The experience transcends the thinking because you are completely in spirituality. You're completely in feeling. And you learn to control that and to be there and to amaze yourself. How beautiful is the world when you are in love. You fly. You do not think. And how does it relate to the vascular system? It's all the blood flow. You learn to control the blood flow through exposing yourself gradually without forcing and to bring the vascular system to its optimum. And then you will have a direct relationship control through the mind into the vascular system. That means the boner. That means the vagina. It's all there. So we are able to control that. And a lot of people, because of stress, they have a difficult sex life. They cannot get this boner because they don't have this control over the vascular system. Well, because the vascular system hasn't been optimized through these cold showers. Cold showers and an ice bath, we are naturally equipped and able to be in there and to adapt completely and feel no pain and stay and feel invigorated afterwards because we exercise the vascular millions of little muscles. And that is everywhere. And that is in the penis, in the vagina. It's everywhere in our brains, and it's all connected. So gradual cold exposure is the second pillar. Then the third pillar, there is the mind. I've been able to show in the last study to have cold water coming to my skin in a brain scan, and then just at will, by will, conscious will, make the skin temperature not go down. That is control over the vascular system and energy. So I'm able to make energy loose, to loosen up and activate it and make such a warmth that ice water is not able to cool down my skin temperature. Imagine how big a boner you can get when you get able to send your energy at will to your sexual organs, which is just beautiful. I mean, once again, skip the penis, skip the vagina, like vulgar words or something, whatever you made of it, and say, when you are in love, ultimately you get into intercourse. When you are in love, the rest of the world does not exist. And how beautiful the feeling, the experience. This is the most impressive, preluding innocence which comes from having sex and love our babies. And it's amazing. And it's not only good for, say, making babies, it's good for relaxing completely. I love my wife. I love my wife so much. So I'm happy. So the mind is the one, it's the will. They asked me sometimes, Wim, what is enlightenment? I say, and please put it in one sentence. And I said to them, okay, you want it one sentence? What has been written in full Bibles and Qurans and Bhagavad Gitas and Torahs, and trying to explain what is enlightenment, and you want me to say it in one sentence? Here it comes. Just be happy, strong, and healthy, and the rest is bullshit. And you are in command over that. So that is the part of the mind. And if you don't understand, you got to follow my course, and then I bring you to it, because we have an innate capacity to control our bodies much more profound than being taught. And because we don't have it, we miss the link, we miss the relationship, we miss the connection. That's why we are able to be manipulated. And the people know it. They come through advertisement, this and that, and profane sex, and all those things, because you don't have the control over your own beautiful mind and body. So the three components are learning to control your biochemistry in the depth, the alchemist, through breathing techniques. Number two, gradual cold exposure makes you able to connect with the vascular system and take down the stress and learn how to direct energies. We are innately capacitated to do so. So you get back into the depth. That is the cold exposure. Gradually, yeah? No force. It's all natural. And then the mind, you are the king. You are the queen over your own body, over your own mind. And it expresses itself electromagnetically like an aura around you, a corona. You are the king. You are the queen. And you better learn to be happy, strong, and healthy. Because what else would you like if you are not happy, strong, and healthy? I mean, to be happy, it's so beautiful, this. People are not able to abuse this, because a person who is happy only gives love, emanates and radiates energy to others, because he's got plenty for himself. He doesn't need compensation in the form of escort girls or playboys or cars or houses. He is just pure making sex with Mother Nature itself every day. You stand up, fully invigorated, and you, I want an ice bath. I want to go in. I want to feel the love and let it embrace me and be there. And I get all the peace therein. And it's amazing.
Beautiful, wonderful. I love all of that. So I took one of your workshops early last year, and I've been practicing the methods myself ever since. And so I find that mentally it makes me clear, it makes me more positive. And then on the days where I do my ice baths, so I'm a surfer, so I like to get out into the water, into the ocean every day for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And what I found, well, I want to talk more about the relationship with nature, but what I found is that, that becomes something that really feeds me on this deep, deep level, that connection with nature, with the ocean. And so something I found, though, is on the days when I do my ice baths, and so I do maybe 2 ice baths a week, is that, okay, on an average day when I go surfing, I go out and I catch maybe 10 waves. And then I found on the days that I do the ice baths, I go out and I catch a miraculous, let's say 50 waves. Like I'm just in this zone of utter, like complete flow. I can do no wrong. Every single motion, every single paddle, every single wave is so lined up. So what would you attribute that to? Like obviously there's the physiological effects of the ice bath. There's potentially, obviously there's something deeper psychologically, like overcoming a challenge. But how would you, me telling you that story, what would you say is going on there?
Yes. For example, I had motor Bali. I was in Bali a couple of years ago. Very nice.
Yeah, you can hear all the motorbikes going by. It's like
I'm happy they are taking care of the plastic the plastic waste now on Bali.
They're starting to, but they've got a long way to go.
Yeah. It's like a paradigm shift. And it needs to happen. Okay, let's go back to the surfing. The surfing 50 waves instead of 10 after an ice bath is due to a activation of your brainstem and limbic system. The limbic system is your mammal. The mammal is able to endure a lot more and being a lot less stress influenced when the depth of the brainstem, the adrenal axis, is being activated through going controlled into an ice bath. So it's very evident the difference between 10 or 50 waves is there is the evidence, there is the proof. People should just take up with this method and try out how to get into their depth and learn to control the energies awakened, because that is innately related to our possible control over our mind and body. It's only starting there. So once again, it's due to the activation of the limbic system, because the blood flow needs to go to deeper parts of the brain. And then the mammalian brain, which is related to energy, to taking care, to just feel nice without thoughts, just a energy which makes you feeling nice. It is activated through the blood flow being descended through going into the ice bath, because you are into survival. Survival means brainstem activation of opioids and cannabinoids. That's the periaqueductal gray hemisphere. That's the most primitive part of the brainstem. And with that comes the purpose, the survival, but now completely in control. The blood flow got there, so it got through the mammalian part of the brain. That is unconditional, feeling great, feeling energy, no inhibition, because the chemistry is right. So then suddenly you are able to control much better what is on in your body, and flawlessly you can go into many more waves than before. And yes, that is the explanation, and it is simple. And I like that you are saying that, because it gives directly such overwhelming evidence. Hey guys and listeners, Just do it because it works. This shit works. And not only in making love to the waves, it's also making love to the brain waves. And it's and your sex life really, it's going to enhance. There is no doubt about it. Have a great life.
Well, that's the beautiful thing, is that when I would go out into the water, it wasn't like I was thinking about anything. I wasn't thinking at all. My left brain, my thinking brain was completely shut off. I was just in this zone beyond, like they talk, the phrase being in the zone, but it was like even beyond that, like just in this constant, almost like next dimension of flow and synchronicity, where I could, like I said, I could do no wrong. I was totally in that zone the entire time I was at. Like, people would be staring at me like in wonderment, like not even understanding what was going on. Like, what is with this chick out in the water? And then, that same thing then translates, yes, into lovemaking, like having that same kind of wordless flow and connection. It's like dancing, right? It's like dancing when your body is just being moved by music and you're not thinking about your movements. You're not thinking about what you're going to do next. It's just happening. You're tuning in inwardly on this deep, deep vibration of your expression, really, of like the tonality, the music of who you are, and you're moving into that.
Exactly. Synchronicity means the three parts of the brain suddenly they work with each other. And what do they create? A ascending neural activity flow and descending neural activity flow without the intervention of the thinking brain, just going past. That is flow. And that flow is so present that you are able to go beyond your thinking brain and the fear-based way of thinking. The way we control our bodies through our thinking suddenly is not needed anymore. You are completely with a full activated brain at work with your body. And then this is the title of my new book. It says, fuck fear. Fuck fear is like your brain is based on fear because the different parts of the brain are not working together. That creates inhibition because you know that you are not able to tackle certain kind of situations coming in your life, and that creates a constant break, a constant push on the brake pedal within your system, and that means you're less alive. And through these techniques and through this method, you're easily, and it is now scientifically endorsed, that you are able to create flow and to get rid of fear, to make your brain fully at work in relationship with the body, means into the depth even of the DNA. So synchronicity and fear subside and flow comes in. And there you are able to grow spiritually more and more and more. And then, we are not born half, we are born holy. And we can make people holy, feeling holy again. Holy means that all the parts are working with the right biochemistry, and they are linking up naturally all to become one. To become one, and there is the once that flows, then fear is no longer needed. The inhibition is no longer needed. You are fully alive, and anything can come in, and your body is able to solve. Your mind is able to solve, and your body is able to. There, fear will subside, and you will live in full confidence and embrace life with fully loving. And yes, it's all there.
So what kind, obviously there's so many beautiful ways this can apply to intimacy and lovemaking and our whole sexual expression. What are some of the things you've seen people experience through using the method and the impact it's had on their sex lives? Or if you want to share about yourself, open to hearing any of it.
when I give when we do retreats, I see it takes about 1 day, 1.5 day for people to open up to each other. They live in an individualistic kind of thinking. And if I touch somebody in the elevator, I say, "Oh, sorry," you know. Yeah. People don't live with each other while the energy should flow. If I embrace you, then I get oxytocin. That is very good for my vascular fitness, for my vascular system. It makes my blood run better. So it is of primordial importance that we touch each other, that we are with each other. And I see that every time happening when people go into the breathing, emotions are released, inhibitions are gone, are fading away. People are become open. They are opening up. Fear subsides, and they become strong. And 4 to 5 days later, I go with them for hours and on end, in short, in the freezing cold, up to the top of a mountain, and just enjoy the power of our control over the elements, and feel fully alive. Intimacy is there, and very, very, very delicately present, and very sensitive. People become very sensitive, very loving to each other. And yes, the inhibitions are gone, and it's physical. It's physical. And so yes, about intimacy, we should have that, intimacy is not only sex, it's all day long. It's all the time.
Well, it's interesting you said those things about the cardiovascular, the vascular system, and the heart issues that people have, and you were talking about that physically, but I was thinking there's this definite parallel emotionally, right? The way you said that people are fairly close to each other in day-to-day life, which I agree, but there's a closed heart. And so I think that when you open up that whole vascular system physically, there's this energetic parallel. And I think I've seen there's a lot of emotional release that happens in your work. So tell me about that.
Oh yes, this is what I see so many times. Yeah. I went to train the SEALs, the Navy SEALs in America, in Pearl Harbor, and I came to this bar, the last control to get into Pearl Harbor, and I was thinking, what do I have to show them? What do I have to show them? And then I got a mail. A message of a person, and I looked into that, and it said, "Dear Wim, my name is Kenny. I'm a GP. Last year, I jumped from a 3rd story down because I had it with the pain. I woke up in the hospital. My brother told me about you, and I'm happy for every day that I'm alive now. I love you, GP Jenny." Things like that come to me. People who have suicidal thoughts and attempts, or live depressed, and it's all psychosomatic. It's about suppressing and inhibiting our life stream, our vascular system, our sex, the whole thing. They come to me and they see that they have a release therefrom. They turn it around. They get back to their natural state of being, which is a loving every moment of the day. And it keeps on going with all these diseases and people who have, a uterus infection. That's endometriosis. People who are women who are not able to get children.
Right.
They do this method. And suddenly they are able to naturally conceive children. Isn't that wonderful? It works directly on the genitals, and it favors the physical, chemical condition of all those parts. And we are like sick in this society through our psychosomatics, and fully stressed on, and serving a system, and not necessarily our happiness, strength, and health, which relates to sex, which relates to innocence, which relates to love. We do not experience that fully bloom. And logically, the flower is not going to go to bloom, and we feel unhappy. We don't feel fulfilled. So it's time to wake up people to their full potential, and then there they will be able to solve anything that inhibits them within their physiology and mind.
Amazing. I love that. I love that the whole system becomes like this, reboot, like like the way we reboot a computer when it's become filled with viruses and malfunctions, and we supersede all of that and come back to the original state, which is harmony, which is high level of health and excellent, really impeccable health, where we have all of this power to do these things that our bodies are capable of.
Yes, and have no fear. When you are, once again, when you are in love, when you emotionally flow and you feel great, when you and you can compare it, when you are in love, you fly. You don't think, you are strong. You go through anything. So there is no inhibition there. Any wall or anything that is between you and your goal is going to be solved. I mean, you're going to take it on one way and the other. There is no doubt about that. There is power, the power of love, and the power of love should not only be between one and another person, but to it all. That is the basics of Tantra. In the end, to find the divine force, the goddess within you, and to feel it. And that can be done with a partner because you feel it. Yeah, sex is stronger than our minds. Hey, Chuchi! My little son is saying hello. Chuchi. Yeah, he's laughing. He's just laughing. So yes, the love, the emotion, physicality, all the same thing. It's flow. A river that flows is unstoppable. We have to open up our channels and all those things and become aware that we have a great potential waiting for us to become happy, strong, and healthy.
Beautiful. So something I wanted to ask you about is a theme that I talk about in my work with people is that in our increasingly domesticated and becoming gender neutral society, I'm actually about celebrating the inherent differences in the sexes. So the idea that there's an archetypal feminine energy, there's an archetypal masculine energy, and we both have feminine and masculine energies within us. But lately there's kind of been this downplay to make them more neutral and more similar to each other. And something that I see in your work, and I've seen with men in particular, is this idea of really re-inhabiting their masculine energy, like through going out into nature, connecting to this primal energy. And so what do you think of all that? Like, what does that mean to you, this idea of inhabiting more of your masculine energy, and modern men really learning to do that now in a time where they're kind of discouraged from doing it?
And let me tell you, women become more women. Like they overcome their menopause. They get their periods at the right time. They get so much more control over themselves. And women are really, really powerful. I mean, innately, they are able to conceive children and to have children. That is an enormous power. And that ability to go so deep into the creation, that is what we are all about. In masculinity, femininity, it's just beautiful.
Well, I love that you said that about women as well, that this work really helps them to reconnect deeper into their own power as women, because I think that's happening to both sexes right now is this stripping away of the inherent qualities and powers of each, right? Women are encouraged to become more like men and take on more masculine qualities. Men are encouraged to become more like women and take on more feminine qualities. And while it's great to have versatility and openness and sensitivity, to both energies, then there is a primal energy and a beauty in celebrating what we actually are and what we actually have. And so I love that what you're saying is that when people have had these kind of qualities and expressions eroded from them, that this work helps to bring them back into those primal expressions.
Yes. I'm not politically into a masculine, feminine, or transgender. Politically, I say let everybody feel being uninhibited and express whatever he feels. But learn first that through the comfort zone behavior, the way we are being taught in schools and the way we are manipulated, we have become like profane. And that profanity, you cannot really make the choice of what you feel. If you learn to go into the depth, then you can. Then you are much more the master over your feelings, your emotions, over your life, the way naturally it should. And this is my message to the people. There is great potential waiting for everybody of us, and we are born with it. And we found ways to tap into it and to embrace our full primordial potential and live it. It's spirituality. It's very lovable. It doesn't make you think. It makes you feel and experience in the depth. And from there, you can choose anything you want.
Fantastic. All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to add about your work in general, or the relationship between it and sexuality and the power that they both bring together?
Sexuality is a sodomized item in society, and I want to show that sexual power, the power just to live the life, is much more than sex alone. Sex is beautiful because it creates the most beautiful thing in the universe. That's innocence, and let it stay and be innocent. It's beautiful. Enjoy your sex, enjoy life, love the life, and be there.
So we could say breathe, comma, motherfucker, and fuck, comma, motherfucker.
Oh, yes. Breathe, motherfucker. You know what you do when you have sex? That's breathing. So why don't you do that during the day as well? When you feel a little bit less within yourself, you don't feel like you, when you have sex, you feel so much. Learn to feel. So I say, breathe, motherfuckers.
Excellent. Well, one of the things that I teach in my work is deep breathing practices to take into the sexual experience so that people can learn to move that sexual energy throughout their body. And so I would think, and I've tried it myself, like I do different kinds of breathing exercises as well, but I've practiced your breathing exercises prior to sex, and it definitely enlivens all of my sensory nerve endings and helps that energy to flow much better and increases the connection with my partner as well.
Amazing. Tell the world. Sex is an absolute part of our lives, a big one, but it also shows that spirituality is great feeling, like in sex, could be all day long. That's where we are able to learn to have control. Real control of the mind is of learning how to let go. And let the universe sink in and feel bloody fucking happy all the time.
Tell me about the phrase spiritual boner.
Yeah, it was my wife telling me. Anything that spikes your intelligence, your intellect, your spirituality, that what makes your feeling say, oh, that is like sex. Oh, that is a spiritual boner. If you sometimes you get into discussion, you get into debate, it's like sex, and then you get these new insights, and you say, oh, that is a spiritual boner.
Fantastic. Well, your work overall is a great spiritual boner. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your wisdom and insight and passion. It's many, many gifts that you bring to the world.
Thank you, babe. It was great talking to you. You are doing great work. Keep on going and free the world.
Sexual Mastery for Men is coming soon. This is my 8-week online salon for men with everything you need to know for how to master your life, sexual expression, stamina, orgasms, and your woman and her orgasms too. You can watch the free preview video series on my site under Sexual Savant Salons, Sexual Mastery for Men. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe and also leave a review. And send someone else the gift of a healthy libido and an off-the-charts love life by sharing this episode with them. We'll be back next week, and in the meantime, many happy orgasms.